Hello and welcome to highlights of the 1992 San Marino Grand Prix, brought to you by Mircoprose and GP2Joey. We're in Italy this weekend for the 5th round of the season at the sweepingly fast and bumpy Imola circuit, a mecca for the hundreds of thousands of fervent Ferrari fans and their beloved Ayrton Senna. We've had 3 different winners in the first 4 races this year, with Benetton's Martin Brundle the winner last time out in a dramatic Spanish Grand Prix, which saw numerous big names retire, including Senna, who will be hoping a new car will see him challenge championship leader Nigel Mansell, who is 4 points ahead of McLaren's Michael Schumacher in second, with Brundle in third, ahead of teammate Johnny Herbert, and defending world champion Joey Davies in 5th on 10 points. McLaren are a single point ahead of Benetton in the constructors' standings, as poor reliability and questionable tactics continue to hinder F1's fastest team Williams, who are surprisingly third ahead of Ferrari in 4th, with Ligier in 5th ahead of Joes and Footwork. In the build-up to the race, IndyCar star Alonso Jr. tested once more for Williams, who continued to persevere with the underperforming Jean Alesi, as Senna confirmed his desire to drive for the team, which confirmed rumours the 2 parties had already held talks about next year. With Alesi under serious pressure, manager of Lotus driver Mika Häkkinen and 1982 champ Keke Rosberg confirmed that he had had talks about the Finn replacing the Frenchman, possibly from the next race in Monaco. Meantime, Benetton boss Flavio Briatore threw his hat into the ring, declaring he wanted to land a top lane for 1993. Boss McLaren confirmed motorcycle world champion Wayne Rainey would be testing for them in the coming weeks, and struggling Leighton House announced Austrian rookie Roland Ratzenberger had been unfortunately replaced by France's Paul Belmondo and his large wallet. After the Spanish Grand Prix, Minardi and BMS Dallara were relegated into Friday morning's 30-minute pre-qualifying session, whilst Lotus and LaRousse were promoted out of it. But when the cars hit the track, the action was as manic as usual. Emmanuel Pirot and Ivan Capelli ran out the fastest in the 2 Dallaras, ahead of Olivier Griard in the Fonmetal at the end. The front 2 were joined by the Minardi pairing of Pierluigi Martini and Gianni Morbidelli. But undoubtedly the surprise of the session were the 2 Modena Lamborghinis of Eric van der Poel and Michele Alboreto, who both managed to scrape through to race qualifying for the first time this year, whilst everyone else was forced to pack up their transporters early. Ferrari's new car hit the track on Friday afternoon, and Senna was immediately quicker than he had been so far this year, taking second fastest at the end, which delighted the tens of thousands of tifosi around the track. Down at Ligier, Alain Prost struggled to 7th behind the 2 McLarens of Schumacher and Davies in 3rd and 6th respectively, with Alesi and Brundle in between them. Trouncing everyone once more was Mansell, who strolled to the provisional pole with ease in the Williams by over 0.3 of a second, but that didn't stop him worrying about his chances for the race given the team's poor strategy calls and his retirement last time out in Barcelona. Teammate Alesi then admitted to French TV that he felt lost in the team, and at the 0.8 of a second gap to the Briton on his way to 4th, and wasn't getting any support from the likes of Frank Williams and Patrick Head, whose possible deal with Mika Häkkinen was later understood to be an impasse over his connections with Marlboro. Saturday saw a better performance from Davies, who spent the session fine-tuning his car and improving his lap times to eventually take 3rd on the grid, whilst teammate Schumacher tried his best to beat him, but couldn't do any better than 4th. Senna, meantime, continued to impress in the new Ferrari, but was unable to beat Mansell's time from Friday, despite his best efforts, and so it was for the 5th time in a row. Mansell was the man of the moment, taking the pole, whilst Capelli and Alboreto unfortunately both failed to qualify. Afterwards, Mansell thanked the Ferrari fans for their support, who revere the man they still call Il Leone from his 2 years there at the team, but was nervous about his chances for the race. Senna, meantime, praised the efforts of the Scuderia and thanked the Ferrari fans also for their patience in what has been a tough few months for the squad. Down at McLaren, Davis was in bullish mood after taking 3rd and declared his intention to lead on the opening lap of the race. Schumacher then seemed to deflect blame for his own performance on the McLaren team, which did not go down too well with team boss Ron Dennis, who strongly refuted the German suggestions of intra-team bias. So it's Mansell and Senna on the front row with Joey Davies and Michael Schumacher on row 2. Row 3 is Sean Alesi and Martin Brundle. Row 4 is Alain Prost and Michael Andretti. Row 5 is Johnny Herbert and Gerhard Berger. Row 6 is Riccardo Patrese and Thierry Boutsen. Row 7 is Mika Häkkinen and Mark Blundell. Row 8 is Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Damon Hill. Row 9 is JJ Leto and Eric Bernard. Row 10 is Derek Warwick and Alessandro Zanardi. Row 11 is Stefano Modena and Gianni Morbidelli. Row 12 is Pierluigi Martini and Satoru Nakajima. And at the back it's Eric van der Poel and Emanuele Pirro. The last car pulls onto the grid slot as the red lights come on. The engine revs rise. And it's go! It's a strong start from Mansell away from the pole position, with Senna and Schumacher in close attendance on the run down towards Tamburello for the first time. It's Mansell ahead of Senna's Ferrari, with Schumacher in third, Davies slightly further back in fourth, with Sean Alesi in fifth in the Williams, and it's Brundle sixth as they head down towards Villeneuve for the first time. Senna's on the inside, but it's Mansell still ahead, and Senna's got Schumacher on the inside on the approach to Tosa under braking. It's Mansell. Nigel Mansell's ahead of Michael Schumacher. Schumacher moves from fourth to second in 3 corners. Fantastic start for the German. With Senna down to third, it's Davies in fourth, Alesi fifth. Prost is sixth as they head up towards Paratella for the first time. Brundle's in seventh, it's Boutsen. His first race for Ligier replacing Eric Comas. It's Berger in ninth and it's Michael Andretti in the second Ferrari. Right the way down in 10th position. But on the approach out of Aquamirani up the hill, it's Mansell with half a second lead over Schumacher. Senna's still trying to keep pace with the 2 front runners, but it's Mansell out of there, heading down towards Rimazza for the first time. But what can Joey Davies do? He's in fourth, the defending world champion. Under braking now, down towards 90 miles an hour. With a double left-hander, it's Mansell around the first part. He's through the second, riding the curve beautifully in the Williams Renault FW14B. Into the final section, it's Mansell still with a half a second lead, with Schumacher further, half a second back, it's Senna 1 second down, and Davies in fourth. Sean Alesi's coming under pressure, it looks like, from Alain Prost and Martin Brundle's Benetton. Fantastic first lap as they head down towards Tamburello now for the second time. Let's see if we can get a start from Davies.
Initially a very good start there from Joey Davies. He seemed to just bogged down, but Schumacher made a much better start with the sister McLaren and immediately was all over the back of Senna's Ferrari. Senna in turn looking to try and get some sort of a run on Mansell because they do know that this first lap is absolutely critical for them to get any chance of the race win today. But already Mansell's exerting his authority and Schumacher just slipped it up the inside with Senna's Ferrari and he's through. So a good start from Michael Schumacher with Joey Davies seemingly settled down in fourth position.
And Senna looks like he's coming under attack from Davies already in the McLaren. Davies, is he going to try anything under braking? He has a look, but there's nothing doing there. Senna's he's too wide there. He keeps the McLaren further back behind him. But Davies, he's going to definitely try and pounce if he can into the very anti-Balsa. He's going to try and come through the right hand or through the left, but there's nothing doing there, and he slips it up the inside into the last corner. Fantastic pass from the Englishman. Well, I'm pretty sure he took Senna completely unawares there because Davies has now taken third place and he's going to have to try and set off after Schumacher.
Quite brilliant pass there. As we see one of the Joe's Porsches, I think that's Gerhard Berger pulling over. So Berger's out, but a brilliant pass there from Davies as Mansell comes through to complete yet another lap. And he's definitely closing the gap now. The gap's at less than 1.5 seconds to his teammate as they come across the line once more. So Davies will definitely be looking to try and close the gap on Schumacher. But let's not forget what happened to those two last time out in Barcelona.
Well, yes, it was absolutely sensational as we ride on board with Sean Alesi. But let's not forget that Davies and Schumacher, their battle when Schumacher was trying to lap Davies, but Davies wasn't having absolutely any of it. And he almost took them both out several times trying to defend his lap position, which did not go down very well at all with the Germans. So I'm sure there's going to be a score to settle or two here at Imola. But let's have a look now. We temporarily lose the pictures, but we're on board with Davies now, and he's through the final complex of corners, trying to close up the gap to his teammate. He's less than 3/10 away as they come over the line for the 13th time. And as they head down towards Tamburello, is Davies going to be able to do anything about it? Schumacher's going to block the inside line. They're side by side through 190 miles an hour. Schumacher just cuts right across the front of his teammate. And Davies looks to take the inside into Villeneuve. And he's through. He's through. No, he's not. Schumacher. The car's snaking about all under the braking, but once again Schumacher just forces his teammate to the outside as Davies looks to try and make a move. This is fantastic. We're going to have this for the entire season. Davies looks to the inside again, but Schumacher just blocks it once more. Fantastic racing between these two, and this is going to enable Mansell to really pull away at the front. Mansell's lead, I'm pretty sure, is going to be over 4 seconds, and that's a Ferrari smoking. It's Senna. Yet again, Senna is out. My goodness me, it's the new Ferrari car with a brand new engine, and yet again it's another failure, and he is out. Sensation at Imola. Senna is out for the 3rd time in succession. That's going to be absolutely heartbreaking. And that's another car failing.
I think that's Prost. That's Prost, Ligier Renault pulling over.
My goodness me. No sooner is Senna out, it's Prost out. So Alain Prost retires as well. And back up the front, it's Davies and Schumacher. Fantastic. Let's have a look at this. Davies tries to take a look. There's nothing doing there, so he gets into the slipstream. He's right with his teammate now as they come through towards Brundle. And they touch at 200 miles an hour. My goodness, Davies almost loses control of his McLaren. And Schumacher just about manages to keep it under control himself. But this is absolutely sensational. The two of them, Mansell is 5.2 seconds up the road. Once again, Davies has another look. But there's nothing doing there. With Sean Alesi further back. And there's Johnny Herbert. Herbert goes inside Riccardo Patrese.
Tremendous racing right the way through the field here. I'm noticing there's quite a few lead changes, and Mansell, the race leader, comes into the pits, but there's quite a few position changes going on at the moment as Michael Schumacher comes into the pits as Joey Davies decides to stay out in the McLaren. So Davies is going to try and see if he can get some sort of a jump on his German teammate with Nigel Mansell, see if he can put in a couple of pounding lap times now. So it's going to be interesting to see if Davies can do anything there, but he hasn't quite had the pace of Nigel Mansell. But let's see if he's got the pace to beat his teammate. As we see Alesi up into 2nd place. So Alesi's performing a little bit better this weekend, as we see 2 Brits there, Derek Warwick and Mark Brundle battling over position.
But we want to see where Davies is. As Mansell comes through and Alesi's into the pits, I think I caught a flash of John Alesi. He is. So Alesi comes into the pits and Davies seems 14.5 seconds ahead of Mansell. That's not going to be enough for him to take the lead away from Mansell. I think that Mansell pretty much going to be comfortable in the race lead as we see Damon Hill and Hill chasing one of the BMS Delaras. So I'm not sure what happened to Damon Hill, but he's quite preferred way down the grid. As Leto comes into the pits. Another decent performance from JJ Leto, who's outperforming his teammate Derek Warwick. And the race leader Davies is into the pits. Let's see what happens here with the McLaren boys as Nakajima comes in as well. Very slow onto the marks. The Lollipop fan comes on. Superb wipe of the visor from the chief mechanic, and I've got to say, of all the talented chief mechanics and all the visor wiping that goes on up and down the pit lane, there's no doubt that nobody wipes a visor better than the McLaren boys. It's quite a decent stop, but where is Davies going to come out? He comes out, and I think that was Schumacher.
Martin Brundle as well.
And Brundle's come out in front of them. So Martin Brundle looks like the Benetton team are going to do another superb alternative pit stop for him as Modena spins the Tyrrell. But it looks as though Brundle is only going to stop once today. Is he going to be able to make the tyres last? We know he's running the harder A compound. And look at this! This is Davies, Brundle and Schumacher. And Senna. Brundle loses 2 positions there. Schumacher and also to Davies.
Yes, I think you sound like you're tempted to mention Ayrton Senna's name, but of course Ayrton Senna is out.
I know, I can't help it. We're at Imola, and I'm expecting Ferrari's success. But there's another retirement. I'm not sure who that is. Is that a Williams? Is that Mansell?
No, it's Zanardi.
It's not Mansell. Well, thank God, because Nigel Mansell is still going. But look at this again. It's Schumacher and Davies in the 2 McLarens. Schumacher's got the run out of Villeneuve into Tosa, and it's once again it's Schumacher. But they're side by side. Who's going to get the drag run up the hill towards Piratella? Is it going to be Schumacher or Davies on the rundown? They go around the right-hander. Schumacher's got the inside, and he's through, but he leaves his braking too late. Davies tries to make the move, but he can't get through there. Fantastic stuff. And still, there's absolutely no let-up as Davies looks to go through the inside into the Aqua Minerale. He's through, he locks up as well. But Schumacher just gives him space, and that gives Brundle the chance to close up the door. So Brundle catches up to Schumacher and to Davies. And once more as they come through Tamburello It's Davies ahead of Schumacher. And Schumacher's going to have to take the long way round because Davies is going to protect it on the inside for Tosa. And he's got the inside line and he snatches his left front. And still Brundle is lurking. This is sensational.
Well, Martin Brundle being very wily here, very clever with his driving. Once again, he's really driven very well this year. He's just keeping a watching brief on these two because he knows what happened to these two last time out in Barcelona. And I'm pretty sure that he thinks that at some point these two may very well come together once more. And of course, he's going to benefit if anything like that should happen. As once again we see Blundell and Derek Warwick once again having a nice little ding-dong battle going on there, with Mansell's lead out to 16 seconds over the two McLarens, with JJ Leto lurking in the background there, with Sean Alesi's down in 5th in the second Williams, but we need to see the battle for second place.
And here is the action, because this is Davies and Schumacher now. They're coming down towards the approach towards Ravazza. Davies is coming under pressure as Schumacher pulls out. He tries to get through, he locks up and he's out. And he hits his teammate and he's off. And Michael Schumacher is out. But what has happened to Davies? Is Davies out as well? And what's happened to Brundle? Because Brundle's come through. There's Brundle in the foreground. He's through up into second place. Davies looks like he seems to have escaped any damage. But Schumacher is out as Mansell makes a slight mistake at Aquaman O'Reilly himself. But my goodness me, Schumacher and Davies have come together. Let's see what happened in the replay.
As Davies was just taking his conventional line there, you could see that Schumacher just seemed to lock the front brakes and slid out wide. There wasn't really anything that Davies could do about that. It'd be interesting to see if we can get a shot from Schumacher. Well, here it is. So let's see. Schumacher pulls out, gives him the dummy, and then decides to make a last-minute lunge. He just leaves his braking too late. His right rear wheel has nowhere to go, touches the left front of Davies' McLaren, pitches him into the air, and unfortunately the German is out. Quite the sensation as Martin Brundle comes in for his one and only tyre stop.
Well, that's going to elevate Davies into second place and possibly Sean Alesi in third, with Andretti fourth. And there's nothing wrong with the Ferrari except that it's on fire. My goodness me, that's Michael Andretti. He's got smoke billowing out of the back and he's going to retire. So both Ferraris, they've got the two new cars with them this weekend, and both of them, they are destined not to finish yet again. And Andretti pulls over and he's out. And that's Heinz Harald Frentzen in the Jordan. Frentzen is out as Modena spins in the Tyrrell. I think as he stalled it.
No, he's managed to keep the engine going. I think he's obviously just overestimated his own abilities, much like Schumacher did a little earlier, and Modena gets underway once more.
As we see Hill letting his possible future teammate Nigel Mansell through to lap him. Well, there's ongoing speculation about Sean Alesi's future at the team, with many suspecting that it's going to be Dave and Hill that could get the nod amid the ongoing issues with Mika Häkkinen's deal possibly falling through with Marlboro and also with Camel, who are the title sponsor of Williams. As Davies comes into the pits, he makes his second tyre stop after Nigel Mansell has already made his, and that's going to mean that Martin Brundle, I'm sure, is going to go up into third position, with Sean Alesi possibly also taking that position away from Joey Davies.
This is going to be fantastic. Look at this. Davies exits the pits right in front of Martin Brundle and Sean Alesi as Leto comes into the pits. But what's going to happen between these three? Sensation, because Martin Brundle is in prime position now to see if he can get the second place and elevate himself further up into the world driver's standings. But is he going to be able to do anything about it?
Or is Davies going to be able to attack? He's going to defend. He defends into Villeneuve. He has to come on. He has to brake slightly earlier there, does Brundle, and that's going to give Alesi the chance to bounce. No, it doesn't. Alesi just holds back. It's Brundle. He's lost out that chance there with Gianni Morbidelli letting Thierry Boutsen go through. But Davies has managed to keep second position ahead of Martin Brundle, with Sean Alesi in fourth, Johnny Herbert's in fifth, Riccardo Patrese another sterling try in the Joas Porsche, with Boutsen seventh and Mark Blundell in eighth position. But let's look at Sean Alesi. Alesi's going to try and make the move on Martin Brundle. He pulls out. They're into Villeneuve. They're side by side into Villeneuve. Who's going to be the last on the brakes? It's Alesi. He covers the inside. And we've lost the TV pictures.
Appalling TV direction there. That really was pretty poor. We wanted to see what was going on there as we're just riding on board with Nigel Mansell, who's just quite aimlessly trundling around now. He's 30 seconds in the lead ahead of Joey Davies, with Sean Alesi in third.
And that's a Benetton. That's Martin Brundle. Martin Brundle pulls over and he's out.
Yeah, it's Johnny Herbert.
It's Herbert. Johnny Herbert's out. So what's happened to Brundle? Well, there's Brundle with Alesi. And oh my goodness me, Brundle trying to lap one of the BMS Stellaris. He gets pitched up into the air and he loses his front wing. And he is going to have to come into the pits, which means that Sean Alesi is going to be in third position. What a battle they were having. And it's been totally ruined by the back marker there. As we see two more back markers, I think that's Emanuele Pirro and that's Stefano Modena. I'm not sure why we're seeing a battle between those two, because we want to see what's going on as Martin Brundle comes into the pits yet again. Brundle's had to come in, I think.
Yes, he has. Yes, he came in, got his nose replaced, and then he's had an immediate problem with the wheel nut. So he's had to come back in, trundle round, and he's now dropped down to 5th position behind Riccardo Patrese.
But look at this. This is Davies and Alesi. This is the battle for second place. Alesi has caught Davies, but Davies defends the inside line. Alesi backs out of it. He knows that he needs to get a decent race finish today. It's Alesi ahead of behind. Alesi's behind Davies now as they go running up the hill towards Piratella, with Davies slipping it up the inside of Mika Häkkinen.
Oh, this is going to be fantastic, because now we've got the Lotus of Mika Häkkinen ahead of the Williams of Sean Alesi. And as everybody knows, in the news recently, there's been lots of talk about Alesi possibly even being replaced by Mika Häkkinen. So let's see what happens here, because I'm pretty sure that Häkkinen's going to have something to say to the bosses of Williams. Pick me over this diluted Frenchman who's definitely underperformed this year. And look at this as Häkkinen goes through on the inside. Fantastic. He let Alesi go past him, and then he just retook it.
Fantastic. Look at this. Davies is through. But Häkkinen he's blocking Alesi, it looked like to me. I think he was blocking him as Alesi just finally manages to get through, and he gives the Finnish driver the finger. Whilst he's trying to negotiate the left-hander, he just slipped him the finger. But that's Alesi. That's Thierry Boutsen pulling over. Boutsen is off. He's out of the race. So Thierry Boutsen, he was destined to get a point on his first race for the Ligier team, but he is out. And look at this as Brundle's caught Patrese. Fantastic. Boutsen's out, but Brundle is all over the gearbox of Riccardo Patrese's Joas Porsche. Through the final complex, they come through the left, through the right, and over the line they come. They've got one racing lap to go. And it's Brundle looking to try and find a way past Riccardo Patrese on the run down towards Tamburello.
With Derek Warwick right in front of them. As Brundle pulls out, he's right behind him, and Patrese just brilliantly slams the door. I think that was quite safely done. And the two of them now, they're going to try and get in the slipstream with Derek Warwick's footwork, and he's going to have to try and decide to stay out of the way as Patrese goes through and Martin Brundle goes through.
And Brundle's going to slip it up the inside, the car snaking under braking, and he's through. A fantastic, totally unexpected pass there from Martin Brundle on Riccardo Patrese. But we are with the race leader, Nigel Mansell. He's through the final couple of corners now. He's got just the left, just the right. He powers out of the final turn. And for the third time this year, Nigel Mansell crosses the finish line. And he is the race winner. It's Mansell, the winner of the San Marino Grand Prix. Fantastic performance. From the moment the lights went out, he's been relatively unchallenged as Davies comes through the final couple of corners, and Alesi's already closed up the gap. But it's Joey Davies across the line to take a brilliant second position, and a lucky one at that after his earlier clash with Schumacher. And Sean Alesi takes a fine third ahead of Martin Brundle in fourth. But that's the race winner, Nigel Mansell. A superb drive from Britain's Nigel Mansell. Even with a dominant car at his disposal, it seems like an age since the Brazilian Grand Prix and Nigel Mansell's last victory. But from the moment the lights went out, the only rival the Briton faced was the reliability of his Williams car. And thankfully the FW14B held together to enable him to claim a third win of the year ahead of Davies, with teammate Alesi finally making the podium for the first time this season after Brundle's late race drama saw him take an eventual fourth. With two fine drives once more from Patrese and Warwick in 5th and 6th respectively. Other notable performances were Mark Blundell just missing out on the points in 7th for Lotus, and a content JJ Leto down in 8th place for Footwork. On the podium, the relief on Mansell's face was obvious as the victor thanked his Williams team and basked in the dominance of his 21st career win, whilst Davies admitted his second place was a lucky one after his clash with Schumacher, an incident where the defending champion said that ambition had overtook the German's talent. Alesi's 4 points for third could not have come at a more desperate time as the Frenchman continues to feel the pressure of potentially losing his seat at Williams, and while his third place was well deserved, it may well not ensure he keeps it beyond the French Grand Prix in July, or even before then. Elsewhere, a furious Schumacher inexplicably blamed his teammate Davies for their coming together, despite it being clear to anyone with eyes and a brain cell that it was a self-induced accident. And Senna once more voiced his frustration with Ferrari after another disappointing race that saw a third straight retirement, albeit with improved car performance. In the driver's standings, Mansell moves 13 points clear at the top, ahead of Brundle on 17 points, as Davies claws back some ground to Schumacher, with the two tied for third on 16 ahead of Herbert, Prost and Senna, as Alesi climbs to 6th on 6 points. Williams reclaimed top spot in the constructors' standings on 36 points, as McLaren slipped to second on 32, 4 points ahead of Benetton in third, with Ferrari languishing in fourth still on 12 points, after their cataclysmic double DNF on home soil. Round 6 of the season sees the F1 circus hit the streets of Monte Carlo, where Alain Prost was the winner last year for McLaren, but can the Frenchman conjure up some magic this year for his own Ligier team? Will Mansell dominate once more, or will Davies, Schumacher, Senna or Brundle be able to spring a surprise? Who knows, but it's going to be a race you will not want to miss. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for round 6 of the 1992 Formula 1 World Championship and the Monaco Grand Prix.